Let's kick off. There'll be others joining as we go. But yeah, we've got a real treat for you in store today. And those of you that are new to this kind of format, it's just a 20-minute keynote presentation from one of our speakers. Today happens to be Andre Norman, and then followed by maybe 10 minutes of questions answers. Some of you might want to stay on the call, that's also okay. But the idea is short, quick, 20-minute keynote presentation, so you can kind of get to know and get more familiar with some of our speakers. So Andre did come to our speaker showcase in January this year, and he, we have our slogan is we promise you more than a speaker, we promise you an experience. And Andre, I have to say, is just a fantastic experience. Not just the keynote presentation, but just himself as a person. What he does, what he stands for, what he represents. It is just fabulous. And every now and again, we meet a speaker like that is not just brilliant on the stage, but just so good to be with, and just what the speaker does over and above the stage time. So enough from me. I'm going to hand you over to the man himself, and let's kickstart. And yeah, we'll be on the chat. Over to you, Andre.
Good morning. Good morning. Am I in? Am I in? Am I on? Are we ready? Yep. Are Definitely. We in the? I don't know if we're in the building, Paul. I think it's kind of late in the afternoon for them. They had too much coffee. They just came back from lunch. You know what I'm saying? Simone's not smiling enough. Come on, Simone. I see you. You know what I'm saying? Come on, Sue-Ann. I see you, Sue-Ann. And yes, is it? I don't know how to. Ola? Ola. How do you pronounce it? Ola.
Orla.
Orla. Yes. I see you smiling. We're in the building. I'm saying, all right, Chris, I see you. My big bro, Brian's with us. We are officially in the building. So ladies and gentlemen, as introduced, my name is Andre Norman, and I'm, for the next 20 minutes, going to share some information with you. I came to South Africa, and it was a great time being in Johannesburg. I got a chance to go around and meet a lot of wonderful people and do a lot of wonderful outreach. Paul is not just about the stage, he's about the people. And for 5 days or 6 days, we went throughout Johannesburg helping people be better. That is the model. That is the thing. Because when our life comes to an end, we're going to look back and say, how many people did we help have a better life? And that's my connection with Unique Speakers Bureau International. We help people around the world have a better life. And my personal belief is we help companies make more money than they can invest in helping people have better lives. You can't do it the other way around. We just can't run around and give everything away. We have to make money. Then with the money we make, then we can donate some or dedicate some to helping people. So for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share a story with you about my life. For some people, they don't understand, well, how does a black guy from Boston who's a gang member who went to jail impact my business? And what I say to them is my first ever corporate speech was at London Business School. Deutsche Bank was my client. I walked into the room scared because I'd never given a corporate speech before. There was a room full of white guys with suits. I said, well, what can I say to make this the best speech ever? And they said to me, Andre, don't talk to us in banking terms. Tell us your story and trust that we're smart enough to draw the lines. So today, I'm going to tell you my story, abbreviated, and I trust that you're smart enough to draw the lines from where I am to where you are to where we can be together. So with that, the abbreviated Andre Norman story coming to you now. My mom married a high school sweetheart. She had 2 kids, and they lived in Boston. It was a phenomenal thing, except for her husband robbed banks for a living, so he ended up going to prison. She meets my dad, a local hustler. She has 4 more kids. So there's mom, dad, 6 kids. We're all living in the city. It's great, except for my father had a habit of beating my mom. So I grew up watching my mother get beat routinely by my dad, who's 6'6", 300 pounds with a size 18 shoe. And it was never a fair fight, but that's just the way life went in our house. And then one day my mom got tired of the beatings and she finally kicked him out. Single mom, 6 kids living in the city. We know the story. We've seen it on TV. We move around, new neighborhood, 3rd grade. I'm about 8 years old. And the teachers gave me a test and they found out that I'm illiterate, just like my dad. So they said, it's not a problem. They took me to the end of the hall and they put me in a thing called the dummy class for all the kids who couldn't read and write. They stuck us in one room and just left us. Luckily for me, there was a teacher, Miss Oliver, who saw me and took me out of the dummy class. She said, "You're not a dummy, you just learn differently." And then she took the time to teach me my learning style. And for the entire year, that lady invested in me and she sat with me and she helped me through understanding all the challenges that I had with coming to learn. And by the end of the third grade, lo and behold, I could read and write. I wasn't a dummy. I just had a different style. And she said, "Andre, don't let anybody take this from you." Fourth, fifth, sixth grade, I get to the big kids in middle school, and that's when I found out we're poor. And kids are making fun of us because we got dirty clothes, we don't have the cool stuff. And so as a result, I started selling marijuana in the park after school. I would make $30 a day. When I say marijuana dealer, I wasn't really the actual dealer. I was about this tall. So I would run across the street periodically and get bags of weed for the big kids because they didn't want to run across the street. And they would give me $30 at the end of the day. $30 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it was enough for me to buy clean socks. It doesn't sound like a lot of money at all, but it was enough to me to buy my own lunch and pay for my way. And that's what it did. And I just got on that track. And also in the sixth grade, I met a teacher named Miss Ellis who gave me a trumpet. And this trumpet became my new sidekick. And I played the trumpet all through middle school because I had nothing else to do and I just loved it. It was my source of relaxation. At the end of the eighth grade, before I went to high school, Miss Ellis came back and said, "You cannot go to the district high school because you have a gift." I said, "What are you talking about, lady?" She said, "You're gifted. You need to go to a school where you can play your music." And she made me go to a magnet school for music players. So I go to this new high school, I know nobody, and I joined the band. And when I joined the band, it was the greatest thing. Every morning I go play music in the band. Then in the afternoon, I hang out with the cool guys and we run around and we chase girls and we get in trouble. And then one day my cool guy friend said to me, "Dre, why are you carrying that box all the time?" And I was like, "Oh, this is my trumpet." They were like, "That's stupid. Black people don't play the trumpet. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. We out here trying to get girls. You got that big ugly box. Get rid of the box." I was like, "Nah." They're like, "The box or us." And I'm 14 years old. My dad's been gone. My mom's super busy. My sisters and brothers are who knows where. So I gave up my trumpet because I couldn't give up my friends. And I tell people, people have grown up poor in the neighborhoods all over the world and have made it. People have grown up without dads all over the world and have made it. But nobody grows up without a dream and makes it. When I gave up my dream, I gave up everything that I was standing for. It was driving me to a better place. And I just went on a crash course to nowhere. And it was 4 years later, I found myself in Superior Court of the United States, and I was being sentenced for criminal activity. And they sent me to a state prison for a long time. And when I got there, I was kind of scared because I'm 18. I've heard all the bad stories about don't drop the soap or don't let this happen. You heard the don't drop the soap jokes over there in Africa too, but we got them here for sure. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm terrified. And there was a guy from my neighborhood who came and got me. He grew up in my neighborhood. He came and said, "Hey, I'm going to show you how to do this, Andre." And he started teaching me how to stay alive. His name was Dominic Williams. And I hung out with Dominic every single day, learning how to do time, learning how to be smart. And Dominic was like the top gang leader in the prison at the time. So I just watched Dominic every day, everything he did, everything he said, every interaction. I just had to learn. And for the next 6 years, I just followed him around and followed his teaching until one day I woke up third ranking gang member in the state. And I controlled a lot of stuff that I thought was important. And I found myself in solitary confinement. For 2.5 years, I was put in a cell in the basement with no sunlight. And I sat down there, halfway listening to people go crazy, set themselves on fire. So what I would do every single day, I get a newspaper. I might get one a month. I'd read the newspaper, then I'd go in the paper and I'd find a problem. South side of Boston, Massachusetts has a homeless problem. North side of the city has this problem. This, and I would solve the problem from 10 different vantage points. Okay, there's a lot of homeless people, it's a problem. So if I was the mayor, how would I solve the problem? If I was a governor, how would I solve the problem? If I was a store owner where they sleep in front of, how would I solve the problem? If I was a mother of somebody sleeping out there, how would I solve the problem? If I was a lady walking down the street getting harassed every day, how would I solve the problem? If I was a police officer, and I just solved the problem from 20 different vantage points. And that's how I spent my day to keep my mind active, just thinking, thinking, thinking. And for 2.5 years, I did this. And what I didn't understand when I came out of there, I had this problem solving mind I had created by default. And I realized that I wanted to do something different other than just be in prison. So I looked at my problem. I said, how do I solve my own problem? I've solved all these other problems for 2.5 years. How do I solve mine? I said, I need to be educated so I can be successful, so I can go on to do something great with my life. So I came up with a solution, and the solution I had for myself was called Harvard University. I said, I'm going to go home, I'm going to go to Harvard, I'm going to be successful. It was really that simple. I looked at it from every vantage point. If I was the mayor, the governor, would I receive a Harvard person? If I was the mayor, would I receive a Harvard person? Police chief, would I receive a Harvard person? The people on this Zoom, if I was not a Harvard fellow, would you receive me? And I taught myself how to read, taught myself the law, taught myself all the mathematics and the anger management and all the other stuff I needed to learn. I went to counseling and therapy every single day. Then I overturned my case on appeal. I became a lawyer. And I came home after 14 years. I came home with a goal and a dream to go to Harvard University and be successful. But my first step out of prison, I went to a juvenile youth center. I started talking to little black kids that looked just like me. I started telling them they were going to jail, not because they were black, but because somebody had let them down and they didn't know how to handle their emotions. So they would get in trouble. So I started doing trauma-informed care with 15-year-old black boys. Then somebody said, Dre, there's some girls in the unit upstairs. Can you talk to them? I said, I don't know nothing about being a girl. What am I going to talk to them about? So I go up and talk to the girls. 3 out of 4 molested. 3 out of 4 drug abuse. 4 out of 4 domestic violence. It was just all kind of crazy numbers. So I started working with the girls and telling them that they could be whole again, that they could be better. And I started getting them ready. Then somebody came to me and said, hey, Dre, you're denying kids. Now, Paul, you watched me work in South Africa. They told me I was denying kids. I'm like, you got to be crazy. I work every single day. I don't have a day off. They said, there's some white kids that you won't help because their parents want to pay you. Hey, white kids ain't got no problems. They own everything. They end up going to all white school. White kids drink. White kids smoke. White kids have sex. Sorry, moms. You know what I'm saying? White kids got bullies. And one white girl came up to me. She had cuts from her elbow to her wrist. I'm like, what's this? This is what I do when people don't listen to me. And I realized that their kids were struggling just like our kids, just in a better building. So I started working with white kids. They're doing drugs. They got opioids. I'm like, what is this? What's going on? We call it heroin. They call it opioids, but it's the same thing. And they got the same issues. And I started working with white kids. When I walked out of that school that day, I said, never again will I judge somebody based on my ignorance. If you call my phone, I will show up. And every chance I get, I'm going to show up. And over the last 25 years of my life, I started working with London Business School in 2001, my first client, Deutsche Bank, then Dannon Foods, then London's Construction, and British Petroleum. We would come in and do the case studies and the logic model and experiential days because I came in with a different vantage point and viewpoint than they were used to. It was the out-of-the-box day with Andre. Okay, there's what you're used to. There's all the case studies that you've seen 1,000 times over. And here's a walking, living case. And sat in the basement of a prison with 105 years, decided he was going to go to Harvard University, and he went. And I sit here, Harvard fellow, and I teach them how I had the vision, first off, to sit in the basement of a prison and even see Harvard. Then how did I get to the place of executing the mission of going from that cell to Harvard? And then the discipline and communication, all the things that was necessary and needed to get from point A to point Z. They say to me, Dre, my people have the best rooms, the best everything, and I can't get them to have that type of focus. I said they need to be taught. Sometimes some people just need a little insight to be helpful. And I can tell you over the last 25 years, when Honduras had the highest murder rate in the world, we went into Honduras and we helped solve that problem. Because initially, I was doing strictly business. I'd go to Deutsche Bank, Dannon Foods, London's Construction, I go to Harvard, I go to the White House, and I'm solving business problems, which was great. I'm helping people make a ton of money, but then I got a chance to visit different cities in different countries. And I'm seeing the people struggle. And then I partnered with a group called YPO, which is CEO network from around the world. And we started saying, hey, Andre, we have people in chapters around the world and we want to make a difference in our community. We just don't know how. So first I'd come in, I'd do my YPO talk, and I would help them. Then we would collectively go out and we make an impact in the world. So when I went to Honduras, it was a YPO invitation. It was YPO and Andre Norman. We went in Honduras, the highest murder rate in the world. We made a difference. In Sweden, they had a huge drug problem. One of the members in YPO Sweden brought me to Sweden. We went around helping training the drug treatment centers in the latest best practices on how to help people. And that's what we've been doing across the country and around the world ever since. So between London Business School, Harvard Law School, YPO, EO, Genius Network, every agency, we first help the businesses. Because if the business isn't doing well, it doesn't work. There was a YPO named Rusty Keeley from YPO St. Louis. He brought me in to do a lot of charity work. And he took me to his office. He showed me a wall of all the people he donates to. He says, Andre, I give away millions of dollars every year. And these are all the people that I give it to. Then he showed me, he said, this is only possible because our business is functioning. If our business isn't functioning, this doesn't work. So make sure you help us make money and then we can help people. And so it's super important that we make sure the businesses are doing well. And we come in, we do all the leadership training, the communication training, the resilience training, and retention trainings. All of that is we can do. We can do that in spades. We can do that all day long. But it's more important that once that is done, then we move forward. I just left John Deere, a $135 billion company in Illinois, and they're transferring away from DEI. DEI, according to our president, is not a good thing anymore. So that's the new wave, no DEI. But the situation was they have 20% black employees still, even though DEI is done, that's been around for 15 years. So my job was to come in and have the conversation, what's after DEI? How does that work as a black employee or whatever the subgroup is? How does that work for you staying here when that is now gone? And I explained to them, this company helps people. We just can't call it DEI anymore. The character and the integrity of the company didn't go away. Just the title went away. This company's been helping people before DEI. This company's going to help people after DEI. We just can't call it DEI. So as long as they're willing to be impactful and helpful, then that's what matters. And what I want to do and is just go around the world and sit with people and help them. So from company to company, I've been just traveling and just doing what I do best. I come in a company A and I just ask them, what are the things and the challenges that you're having? And I always find work-life balance is always the best. Andre, of all the things that you've taught and trained people on, what has been the most effective? And I always say personal development of your staff. If you want better outcomes, you need better staff. So I believe in creating better staff, which creates better outcomes. Well, how do I create better staff? Well, everybody has the book knowledge. There's so many people in your company who are struggling in their personal life. If you have a child who's on drugs, if you have a child who's depressed, if you have a wife or a husband who has an issue or medical issue, you're not showing up as your best self. And it's hard to come to work and say, hey, my son is on opioids. Say, hey, my daughter is going through depression. Hey, my spouse and I are on the verge of collapse. And how do I do that? So we come in and through the work in company, we will find the people who have these struggles and we help them. So before we run down to Johannesburg, before we run up to Nairobi, before we run over to Compton, we help the people in the building. Because when you help people in the building be better at home and in their personal lives, now the retention goes away. Because I was working with which bank? I was working with a bank, and they were like, Dre, all my key people keep leaving. Somebody down the streets offer them $10,000 in a better parking spot, and they're gone. I said, that's funny. When I was in a gang, nobody ever quit my gang, went down the street, joined the other gang, and shot back at me. I said, it never happened. He says, Dre, it happens all the time in corporate. You offer them 10 grand in a better parking spot, and they're gone. I said, dude, that doesn't make sense to me. He said, well, can you teach my people gang loyalty? And we said, it was like a light bulb moment. So we came up with a training for corporate retention based on gang loyalty. Because my guys would stand on the corner and get shot at every day. One or two of us might get hit and die. We'll show up on that corner the next day. We'll stand on that corner and all get a 100-year sentence. Nobody says anything. We go to jail for the next 100 years. We'll sit in jail every single day on the principles of we're a gang, we're in this together to the end. They said, well, can you teach our people that minus the guns and the gangs, guns and the knives? So what were the things that we taught these men or young boys to believe in that made them have that type of loyalty that they would give their life, forsake their family and anything else to be a part of this organization? And so we found the best tenants from that space, and we've taken out the bad stuff, and we now teach that. And it's not about more money in a better parking spot when you have a family atmosphere and vibe and the leadership structure all works. So we teach people how to be loyal. Retention is real because you spend so much time rehiring. You're really, some of you turn into like a incubator for the guy down the street that's 10 times bigger than you. So you're not big enough to stop the people down the street from stealing your people. So we show you how to keep your people. And we show you how to make them make a difference. And all we want to do is just teach what we've known. And having started where I started, I say to people, if I can go from the basement of a prison to working at the White House, to working at Harvard Law School, London Business School, and the UN called us about 7 years ago. They had a small problem called terrorism. They said, Andre, can you figure out how to get young kids not to join Al Qaeda in the Middle East the same way you get young kids not to join the Crips in California? I said, yes, I can. And they call us to say, okay, Andre, well, we're looking at these logic models and you have a way of seeing things that nobody's ever had before. So I don't know if I'm one off. You can call me Neo, but I don't want to be from the Matrix. But I figured out just how to solve problems. I come from a place of get it right or die. If you don't figure it out in a speedy amount of time, you simply die. That's life in prison in the streets in America. And so I've learned how to figure it out. We've learned how to transfer it. We learned how to package it in a way where it's now acceptable and plausible for businesses. And we work with countless businesses around the world, and it seems to be working. And we just want, again, making a difference is always my core. If you want your business to be better, I'd love to see that. But if there's a choice between company A and company B, and company A wants to help people, and company B simply wants to make money, I will choose company A first. I have 30 years left on this planet. I want to be clear. I have 30 years left on this planet if all goes well and medical kicks in. When I get to my end of my 30 years, I want to look and say, I made a difference. Not just I made money. I've already made money. I've already traveled the world. I'm literally running out of countries to visit. I have like 6 left. Mongolia is like on my list just because I eat Mongolian beef from the Chinese place. So I want to go to Mongolia just because. I have like 6 countries that I really want to see before I die, and I got plenty of time. So, but now it's like, what have I done with my life? I believe in business. I'm an entrepreneur to my spirit. I was an entrepreneur way back in the day. I just had the wrong product. I got the right product now. So thank you. And I want to help people be happy. I look at Simone. I see you smiling. That's what we want. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her. Can y'all see her? Come on. Ola. Come on. Let me see that smile. Look at her. She's smiling too. Him smiling. Kathy. Listen. If they no smiles on the table, I don't want to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? And I believe the way we change the world is we educate the young. So if I could have one program, educate the young, and I am more than positive in my last 40 seconds, everybody in your company is already making a difference someplace. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's as simple as saying, take a poll. Who are you helping? And let us help you help them. We don't have to go find new people. We can never help everybody, but we can definitely go through the people in our companies who are already actively being proactive about helping people and just support them in this endeavor. As introduced, my name is Andre Norman. This is Unique Speakers Bureau International coming to you live. And if you didn't make it today, you better call Paul, you better call Kathy, because we know people. We know people. We will come see you. We know people. So, ladies and gentlemen, God bless. It was great meeting you. And we're going to go to questions and answers right now.
Thank you, Andre. And having spent time with you when you were here in South Africa, I find I'm still learning more and more. That whole problem solving, I mean, who isn't interested in that these days? So yeah, we're waiting for questions to come in the group. Millicent made a comment, and I think it's relevant about, you've made such an impact in other people's lives, but it's also amazing how you brought this to big organizations as well. I mean, that's certainly for us the sweet spot, and I've noticed that about you. So I guess it's quite pertinent on the call to say, if anybody wants to book you, the idea would be that, great, what's the booking? Let's sort things out and everything like that. But what is your community outreach within that organization, and how can you plug me into that while I'm here? You're getting me over the trip. Why don't we spend an extra day or whatever it is, and let me see what I can do to help, whether it's the education side for young children or whatever it is. Let me aware of it. Would I be right in saying that?
I believe, yes. I believe step one, you book Andre Norman, and it's not going to be for a day. You might pay for a day, but you're going to get way more than a day. Step one, let's do the business for the business. Step two, let's help the people in the business. There are people inside of the business that need help and support. There are people inside of your agency that I help with family, spouses, and community stuff. Let's help the business, then the people in the business. Then third, let's look at who the people in the business are already working with. So when I came to you in South Africa, you took me to places that your people are already going. We didn't find any new places. So there was people in your company supporting different schools, supporting different charities, and we went to those. And I'm sure that they were happy that their agencies that they were sponsoring got a top-notch speaker to come in and be helpful. So they came to work, thankful to you, Paul, because you allowed me to go out. And it builds team, it builds loyalty, and it builds trust. So company first, employees' personal problems second, employees' outreach that they're already doing third, then fourth, we can look at expanding beyond that.
Great. So, and we have thanks, Andre. That makes it clear. And we have a question from Sue-Ann. Well, two actually. One is, what is the key lesson that you would want someone to take away from your presentation or just meeting you? You know, from your interaction.
The key lesson that I teach business people, I teach people in general is you're not doing enough, but you can definitely do more. I wish that I had a CEO of a company that was worth 10, 20, $30 million or better that I could call for support in my personal life. My mother worked a hard job her whole life. There was no money she can call when her boys got in trouble. So I want you to know that you can create impact, that you can still be better regardless of your age or your status. You can make a difference in your company, in your home, and in your community. That when you walk away, you're going to say, this is what you're going to say. I can do more. If he can do this where he started, I can definitely do more. And do more is relative. This is not a competition. When you compete, somebody loses. This is a collaboration. We are working together. It's not like, well, I help 50 kids, you got to help 5. I got a Jewish rabbi named Natan Schaefer who helped me. Now, he might be in a group of people. They be like, well, how many did you help? I got 50. I got 80. I got 100. He said, I got 1. Who's your 1? Andre Norman. It's not about numbers. It's about impact. It's about just sharing the knowledge. So when you walk away from my presentation or training, you're going to say, I see there's a greater role for me. There's more I can do with my life and my work. That would definitely be the walk away or takeaway from my presentation.
Lovely. We got a few more questions coming in, Andre. So another one from Sue-Ann is, how would you go about motivating someone that's lost their purpose in life? Well, that's not an unfamiliar question to you, is it?
Oh, well, if somebody's lost track, it's usually a breakdown in communication, not a breakdown in the world, because there's a lot of wonderful things happening in the world today. There are thousands and thousands of great things happening every single day, and we can remind them, and we can just reconnect them. The way I help somebody first is I listen. I don't just assume what their issue is. I will sit and I will talk a little bit, and I will listen more. And I will listen to the person, and they're going to share with me why they see the world the way they see it, and I'm going to agree with them. Then I'm going to slowly help them see it another way. But first, I have to meet them where they are, understand why they're there, and then hold them by the hand and slowly walk them out. It is no like shock therapy. It's take the time to hear the person out, because most often when people are in that space, people stop listening to them or they're not feeling heard. And when people don't feel heard or they have imposter syndrome or they've been bullied, they shut down and they start thinking the world is not a good place. And it's not the world is not a good place. They just been surrounded in an environment where they don't feel heard, seen, and respected. So we're going to bring that back first by listening. Second, by listening. Third, by listening. Fourth, we're going to start walking together to a brighter place. And there's always a strategy that I use once we get them to a stable place, or at least a coherent place. Is if you think your life is bad, let me take you someplace where people are really suffering, and you start saying, oh, it's really not that bad. So sometimes it's not telling somebody, hey, your life is great, you should be grateful. It's taking them someplace where people are struggling. And one thing we did with London Business School, we would take the CEOs and the companies, we call it experiential days. We would go down to the AIDS shelter where the mom is living with the kid with AIDS. We go to the place where people are making five rand an hour and like working super hard. And we would have conversations. And then somebody's going to tell you, why work in this place for barely no money, and they're going to share their passion, their hope, and their love with you. So sometimes being in an environment, seeing people who are so happy, I mean, it crushed me when I went to the Caribbean island. These people were like living in mud huts, but they were so happy. I'm like, how the hell are you happy living in this mud hut? They're like, yo, we're happy. My wife is here. My kids are here. My neighbors are good. The chickens are running. I'm like, no, this is not enough. Because where I come from, it wasn't enough. And I had to slow down and say, I took a lesson from the people in the Caribbean. Happiness isn't stuff. Happiness is people. And so when you have a people disconnect, that's when people stop being happy.
And just getting them to see to see things a little differently. I see what you're doing. So there's another question from one of the younger members in our audience here. I love how you started your story with how you were raised and the traumas of your childhood. Needless to say, parenting has changed tremendously through time. Well, hopefully, we now see gentle parenting leading to unemployed Gen Zs. And maybe what is your take on gentle parenting? Is it its consequences and how they are affecting the workplace? And FYI, I was born in the 1990s. Oh.
Okay, I was born. I'm old. I'm officially old. I like being old a little bit.
Yeah. Don't think you're old, right? Yeah.
Raising your kids in any era is going to be challenges. So when it was horse and buggy, it was a challenge. Now we have like selfless driving cars as a challenge. There's always going to be a challenge. There was no communication. Now we have iPhones. There's always going to be something of the time that's challenging. But when I was raising my son, I had a concept of, I was taught, this is how you raise your son. And I had all these stuff that was passed down from my father, my grandfather, whatever. I ran into a guy, he said, Andre, the strongest weapon or influence you have over your son is called disappointment. If you're in his life every single day, being a dad, being everything you're supposed to be, you will become the center of his universe. And just the act of taking 2 steps back away from him and being disappointed will shatter his world. So you just have to be in his life that actually takes hold. So when you mess up his gravitational pull, you throw him off balance. So I tried it. I'm in my son's life. I pick him up. I'm hanging everything every day. Then one day he did something wrong. I pulled away from him. And he had never had me pull away in his life. He didn't know what that felt like. And when it was like, Dad's mad at me, Dad's not happy, and he didn't know what to do but try to get back in my good graces. He did everything he could because the feeling he felt of being disconnected from Dad was shattering to him. And he didn't like the feeling, and he understood when Dad gets upset, I get this feeling. And so, but for that only takes root if Dad's there. If Dad's there day for day, doing the things Dad's supposed to do day for day, then that actually works. So if you're trying to raise a kid in 2025 and beyond, if you're in their life every single day, doing what you're supposed to do as a dad, then, or mom, if you pull back, that kid's going to go into a complete tailspin. And the emotional hurt or angst that they're going to feel from the disconnect is going to make them want that to go away. And they're going to have to come back to you and fix that. And that's the same thing to the last question. When people get disconnected, what happens? They go into a tailspin and they need to be reconnected. So that would be my strategy or advice to anybody raising a kid in any generation. It's about emotional connectivity, and disappointment is the strongest weapon you have against any child.
Nice. And it takes away from the sort of connotations, gentle parenting, things like that. Samana's got a couple of questions for you, but she would much rather ask you herself than type. So Samana, if you're still up for it, your floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you, Andre. Thanks, Paul and team, for setting this up. Andre, you remind me of like a cuddly Mike Tyson. Love it. So just very quickly, there was something that sort of stood out. So, like many of us do, we deal with a lot of the corporates, and the fact that and I know that Paul mentioned like you work with the Fortune 500 and things like that, but a lot of the stuff that you speak on, which for me, I mean, it resonates very, very much with me personally. But I don't like putting things in boxes, but often that's how people understand it. So if you're dealing with a lot of corporates, yes, they may have a division that deals with outreach, but it's sort of like they on the far east wing on somewhere else, and then they carry on with banking business from a day-to-day perspective. So from an eventing perspective or from a client corporate perspective, a lot of what you're talking about, it for lack of a better term, how do you make it not be mushy because it's extremely valuable? And in order to, in other words, how did you get to these Deutsche Bank and all of these things that actually had the savvy and the know-how to understand how fundamentally important it is? I mean, you mentioned things like, I mean, we all put things in a box. People seem to understand a leadership speaker, or they understand, I don't know, whichever box.
How did we pitch it to them?
How do you get into these companies? How do you pitch to get this message across that it isn't fluffy? Look, the fact that you're an ex-gang member and jail time does hold massive gravitas, but your messaging, it's so personalized and it's so needed. And I mean, I think this filters into so many different areas, from leadership to wellness to employee engagement, like you were saying. How do you sell this into a very corporate client that goes, we don't do that fluffy stuff, we just do these.
We just make money. We make money, we get it done. I'm with that, and I'm from that. So what we did is we don't sell it as a standalone. We do through London Business School. We would do a 5-day training, and 4 of the days would all be the case studies: how to make money, how to make the people work harder, how to build a building, how to take over land, and all the rest of that wonderful stuff. One of the days we would call it an experiential day. So I'm there on day 1. Then on day 2 is my day. Now I would take the team out. They came for a 5-day training on how to be tough. But on day 2 or day 3, we would take them out and would have an experiential day. And we would pitch it as an experiential day. You're going to go out and see the world because you live in a glass tower. We want to remind you what the world looks like. And in those days, I would take them out. So British Petroleum, and Jonathan Bloomer was the CEO at the time. We went to San Diego, we went to California. We did day 1. Then day 2, we visited all the homeless shelters in Skid Row. Then I had a family who was homeless, came and gave a presentation, and we spent the day showing them the other side of the world that they hadn't seen. And then at the end of the day, the last thing was we went outside and they had all these gift bags that we put together. They were going to give to the homeless. Literally, they lined up 7 people in a row. The first person would hand the second person a bag, then they'd pass it down the line, and the last person would hand it to the homeless person. After 3 bags, they said, why are we standing in this line? This is stupid. And they just went left, and they just all grabbed bags and went out and started passing them out. It wasn't sold as come be fluffy. Their human side kicked in, and they just started passing out bags and talking to people and handing out bags themselves. They stay in a corporate setting, in a corporate mindset, because that's what they're trained to do. And every time we've done this, 5-day training, 3-day training, and we include the day experiential day. And the following day, Jonathan Bloomer called me to breakfast, and his whole face was lit up because he had never had that type of experience. He said, Andre, we want to change the world. So, and what can we do to change the world as a company? And those are the conversations that we had from there. But it wasn't sold to him as, hey, let's go save the world. This is a business training, 5 days, and just one of the 5 or 1.5 of the 5 is an experiential day out in the community. One of the days is Andre speaking in the building. So we do the experiential day, and then I would speak the day after. And then now, for those who wanted to continue or ask questions, they could. And for those who didn't, they're back to the case study. So it wasn't all or nothing. It was, and you can do it, and you can do that. So we always put it inside of another training. We didn't do it as a standalone for the corporate companies. So from Amazon to Delta to all the rest of these wonderful companies around the world, we never said, hey, here's a fluffy training. I do sales trainings. We do the sales trainings and we add the experiential piece on. We do the leadership training and we'll add the experiential piece on. You have to give corporate what corporate understands. Is it a sales training? Is it a leadership training? Is it a communication training? Is it a retention training? Is it a legal training? What am I doing? It has to fit in one of these boxes. And just part of that training will include the experiential. Then those who get it. Those who just want to stay where they feel safe, we leave them.
Now, I like what you said, because you said, it's about, making a difference in your communities through making sure that your companies are rich enough to do so.
Yeah, poor companies can't do anything but fold up and leave abandoned buildings.
Nice. And then my other one, but I think Chris or someone also asked about that. I'd like to just know more about this gang loyalty. I think it's brilliant.
Gang loyalty is it's a corporate retention program that we've created. Corporations have people who you hire them out of college or whatever the thing is, and then they come with you, and there's no loyalty to the program, there's no loyalty to the company, there's no loyalty to each other. There's with the turnover, with the mergers, with the sales, and with the mindset. It's like I'm here to get what I can get, and I'm going to go on. And I'm always looking for a better situation, and I'm always if I'm a corporate employee, I'm always looking for a better situation from the CEO down. It's not just the guy in the mailroom. The CEO is looking for a better situation too, because he's a hired gun. If it's not the family business, he's looking for a way out. And so we've taken the tenets of what we taught young men across America to make them stand on a corner, face death, face prison, face everything you can imagine, and never turn their back on us. There's lessons in that. There's conversations that we have. I don't do drugs. I don't drink or smoke. So it's never like, hey, let's get high and get him induced. It's just, for lack of a better term, mental manipulation. We teach people mental manipulation on how you get someone to join a gang and stay. I mean, you can call it anything else you want. At the end of the day, it's mental manipulation. And manipulation doesn't have to be a negative word unless you want it to be. I'm saying it's just convincing somebody, mental influence, if you want to say it that way. How do you influence people and get them on board? And what are the conversations? We went back and we researched what were the conversations, what were the things that got people to buy in and got them to stay in. And then we figure those out, we put them in a box, and now we call it corporate retention. We don't call it gang training. It's a corporate retention program. So they do rock climbing, like all that, stand on the thing and fall back, let people catch you. We don't do that. We got fat people in our crew. That don't work.
Andre, Chris had a slightly different version of what what someone was asking you, and that was, do you ever extend that to getting your customers to kind of be a little bit more loyal?
Oh, definitely.
And your suppliers and this thing.
It works. It works with any group. Like I said, when I walked out the house at 14, I had good mom, I had a good life, and people came and they're like, hey, and they found the things that I didn't have and they filled those blanks. And let's go back to the disconnection part. So if you're not connected, we asked a gang member, there's a guy named Salvin. The churches were trying to get the kids and the gangs were trying to get the kids. And they said, well, why do they keep going to you? They said, well, you're open on Sunday and Wednesday night for Bible study. He said, when the kid gets up in the morning and he's hungry, I buy him food. When he doesn't have shoes, I buy him shoes. And when his dad doesn't come to the game, I go to the game. You're there on Sunday and you preach to him and tell him to give you some money. I'm there, you're not, I win, you lose. Do you meet their needs? Do they meet their internal needs? Not do you meet what matters to them? I literally was just in Louisiana, and it was like a 8th grade kid who was having a horrible time, and I went and I decided talking to him and working and talking to him, and I convinced him to be my mentee. I call him nephew, and we started talking. And at the end, throughout the conversation, I could see that he had dirty clothes on. I could see him saying that he had some scars, or he might have got beatings at home. So I could see these things. So what I did after I went through all the I can help you, I'll be your friend, and I'll help you. Then I took him, I left him, I went to the store. I don't know, the next day I came back. Because usually people talk to you and they go away, you never see him again. I came back the next day, talked to him again, spent time with him, went to the store and bought him 2 pairs of sneakers. Brought him back to the school, bought him some Jordans and then some John Morants. He saw these sneakers, his eyes lit up. I said, these are yours if you complete this alternative school training with no more problems. And I'm going to call you once a week and for $200 worth of sneakers. This kid's whole life has changed. Because as much as I said I was going to be there for him and everything, what mattered to him is looking cool in school. That supersedes anything I was saying. Looking cool in school is the ultimate thing. How do I know? Because I used to be him. And I wanted to look cool. And I would do you're going to help me look cool in school? You got me. So for 2 pairs of sneakers and a pack of socks, I won a kid over. Can you see him?
can. Lovely.
And the
Cool.
crazy thing is, that's I was him in school. I came to school with dirty clothes on, came to school with dirty socks on and some raggedy sneakers, and didn't want to be seen. When he gets some new sneakers, he can't wait to get to school. He's gonna earn them, and then he's gonna wear them. And I literally was in Houston at an NBA place, like 7 foot tall. He was at the game. He made a video and sent it to him. So he got a 30-second video from an NBA player. He has 2 pairs of sneakers waiting for him to achieve and learn. And so you invest in people. I won that kid over 100%. Now, if I was a bad person, he'd do whatever I said. But since I'm a good person, he's going to do whatever I say. You have to meet a person's needs. You have to first listen, sometimes with your eyes, and hear their needs.
Gotcha. No, great. Just a few other comments, and then we'll close off, Andre. But comments like, "We love your passion. You're such a blessing." Session reminds me that it's actually never too late to make a change in the world, and that we are all gifted. Sue also just left shortly to go, but thank you. Powerful story, incredible inspiration for a positive mind shift. Looking back on this, your gang loyalty concept will always take up rent in my mind and spark much thinking for pain point ideation in my own space. So yeah, thank you from everybody, and thanks to everyone on the call as well. This is we did promise you more than just a speaker. Andre is an experience, and you lived up to that, Andre, as always.
I want to say before we go, Paul, I want to thank you. We met in Vegas and you were doing your thing, and I was like, Andre, you have to come to South Africa. I was like, cool, let's go. And I jumped on the plane, went to South. I said, under one condition, we have to be able to go out and help people. And we got a chance to help people. And I'm shipping books to South Africa still. You know what I'm saying? I'm still shipping books to South Africa and talking to people, periodic, a couple calls a week to the people I've met while I was over there, giving instructions and helping. And I try to take every situation and make it a better situation. So you might not see them, but on this call, I probably have like 4 or 5 members of my team that goes out with me, and we go out and we try to we call us ourselves the Avengers, because we just fly into different worlds and we just fight whatever demons are there. So they're in the background and they're on this call learning and listening. So this is just in a call about y'all. What they're seeing is how to do business at an international level, how to answer questions from different companies and corporations that they're going to take back to their communities in Detroit, in New York, in Louisville, Kentucky, Atlanta, North Carolina, I'm saying Louisiana. We have I don't know how many are on, but the information that they're getting today isn't just about a speech or about a booking. We're empowering people to go back to their communities here to make a difference. And it didn't cost anything. They just got a chance to sit in the back and watch and learn. So later on, this is a teaching tool for them on how they can one day sit in this seat and interact and do business with you as well.
You have a brilliant mind, Andre. Well, over to you, Kathy, to close us off. Thank you.
Andre, I'd just like to thank you very much. I've seen you both live and online, and the energy is next level, honestly. And I think your message has just been, it's touched people's hearts and minds and that. And I think people will go away, just even though we've just had a 20-minute session here, I think they'll go away with a lot to think about. And I'd like to thank everybody else for coming. It's now late o'clock compared to all the other times, but next Monday, 9 o'clock, and we'll have Mandy Wiener, who's another one of our 5-star speakers. And thanks very much to everybody, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.